Hi everyone, thanks for joining our fourth session of our LinkedIn Recruiter Bootcamp. My name is Parth. I'm an account executive specializing with search and staffing firms over at LinkedIn. And our goal during this conversation is to provide insight onto best practices on how to engage the audience, whether it's through jobs or our InMail feature. Now, before diving deep into the jobs and the InMail features, I'll give you a brief background on myself. I've been with LinkedIn for about a year now. And prior to coming over to LinkedIn, I spent a little over a year and a half over at Indeed. So somewhat familiar with the recruitment space, probably not quite as hands-on on the recruitment field as all of you are, but I do understand how the nature of the business has changed throughout time and really where it's going. So please use me as a support point during this conversation as well as after. Feel free to add me on LinkedIn. More than happy to help me anywhere I can. Quick point I'll make out is there is a chat feature on the right side. If you do have any questions right now, you can go ahead and send them over. At the end, we'll address as many questions as we can and pick it up at another time if we do run short. Make sure everyone joins the Recruiting in the Digital Age group. All the webinars that we've taken in the past, as well as the ones that we have going on today, will all be housed there, so you can always revisit them and spread them along to your colleagues in the industry that you think might benefit from the service as well. So let's review what we went through last time. Real high overview. I mean, we all know technology has changed the way that we do things, especially the way that recruitment has changed over the last 10 years. So the way people get information has changed, the way people are engaged with this information has changed. And it's all about now delivering the right message at the right place, the right way. And there's no silver bullet in recruiting. So there's a few different ways that you can be successful in this avenue. We're going to go ahead and share our best practices regarding InMails and our jobs feature. Now, everyone's seen this slide many times. Actually, maybe some people, when you saw it last, it said 279 million members. Since that time, we're actually right over 300 million members and growing every single second, with a little bit over 2 members joining every single second. Now, why do members come to LinkedIn so often? A few different reasons. One of them being to manage their own identity, to make sure they have a professional brand exposure on their personal network, and then it extends onto their company brand as well. The second reason, and probably the most popular reason, is for networking. The most common task done on LinkedIn is viewing other members' profiles and connecting with old colleagues and building out your current network. The last aspect is the aspect that we think we are growing the most towards, and it's to provide insights so that you can be the best at what you do. Whether it's following along with a different group, following an influencer and reading the popular posts that are coming through, it's all about being a thought leader in your industry, so providing and absorbing the proper content. Now, when it comes down to engaging your audience, I like to break it down into 2 main avenues of engagement. We have inbound engagement or inbound recruitment, and then outbound engagement. So very high overview I'll provide. By inbound, I mean promoting your positions that you have out there, promoting your job and your brand so that people can come across your listings, they can qualify and validate your brand, and then reach out to you. So really it's an inbound lead. And as you all know from being in the industry, that's completely different. That conversation is completely different than the one that you tend to have when you reach out to a particular member. So that secondary aspect is the outbound recruitment. So this is where you are hunting or you are sourcing for the proper candidate. You're using InMails to reach out to these qualified members, and the goal here is to engage a member and build a relationship so that when you're competing against many other recruiters that are reaching out to that same candidate, you've differentiated yourself enough so they reach out to you, they respond to you, and not the person down the road trying to make a placement for that same particular role. Questions before we really get started. We did review this last time, but we want to make sure when it comes to validating, we're validating our own brand and ourselves. So really, we want to look at our profiles and say, what message am I really sharing right now? Is that the message I really want to be sharing? How do I need to kind of pivot inside a message so that I can convey what my real efforts are here? How do I make this message clear and concise? And then after reviewing my message, what do I want them to do next? What's the real call to action so that person replies back to you? And we're just going to go through. You have validating, which is making sure your personal and your company brand is up to date and professionally branded on LinkedIn. You have the educating. So this is where you are trying to be viewed as a thought leader in the industry. You're sharing content so that people are consistently coming back to your personal page and your company page, and they're more engaged with both of your brands. And the last aspect would be differentiating. And this is kind of something that comes about as long as you've done the first two portions. If you properly validated yourself and you're sending out relevant content towards your targeted audience, you have already differentiated yourself. You want to be the top 5% of the recruiters out there that are actually taking conscious effort, not to be so much of a transactional type sale, but to build a relationship and stand out from the crowd. Now, when it comes to engaging the right member, it's all about the content that you're putting out there. And what we want to say is you want to make it personal. You want to make sure that when you are reaching out to this individual, they don't think that you've reached out to another 100 individuals and it's not a numbers game to them. And it's not so much the amount of content that you put in there, it's what you put in there. And this is a real high-level overview of what we see as successful introductions or InMails. So it's really giving a background as to what you do without using so much descriptive kind of lingo that really doesn't add too much value. You don't want to use these cliches quite so often. Now I'll show you an example of an InMail that generates a very low response rate. And you'll see right off the bat, this isn't really a message. It's more of a job description that's being sent over an InMail. Now, if I was to receive this, I would think, don't mind my language, but someone threw up on the page and just sent me everything that was inside of a job description and is hoping that I'm going to reply back to them. Chances of me actually taking my time to read through this is not very likely. The other thing you want to consider is that most of our members are receiving these messages on their mobile devices. You're sending them an InMail, it's going to their LinkedIn application, it's also going to their mobile phone. So when you have something that has this much content inside of it, the member is likely not going to view it all inside of their mobile application or their phone mail. So this kind of is a waste, and you can see that response rate will get you 1 to 2. So every 100 you send out, you might be able to get 2 conversations out of them. This one is going to give you a dramatically higher response rate. It says, "Dear Monty, I'm highly intrigued by your profile." It doesn't go into detail about what the particular specs of the jobs are, but it will tell you we're talking about our competitor analytics program. It's an emerging growing team, and someone like you would be an ideal addition. If you're open to a conversation, let's have one. We can go ahead and talk in a little bit more detail, but when I receive this particular message on my phone, I'm actually going to read through the entire thing, and I'm likely going to respond and say, you know what? Let's have this conversation. I'd like to explore it more. Or, I know who you are. I actually read through the conversation. Now is not the proper time, but at least you've kept your brand in front of them, and they're going to be a little bit more aware of you as opposed to a person that sent that long message that, we never got to the bottom and read their name. Now that covers everything on our outbound recruiting. You are sourcing for candidates, you are reaching out to them and trying to engage them. Now we're going to flip hats quickly and show you the inbound recruitment portion. So getting your job in front of the right audience. So what we want to really emphasize is that LinkedIn is not a job board. Actually, a majority of our candidates, they come across roles through our matching technologies and our network shares. So it's a matter of having your job targeted towards the proper active and passive candidates. On the right side, you'll see this area that says jobs you may be interested in. Now, this appears on our members' home pages. So even though they're not actively looking for a job, we are pushing out targeted positions towards their listings so that we can try engaging them. And then hopefully they're going to go ahead and reach out to you. That's the inbound that we're referencing. Now, going down to the matches, how do our matches really work? Well, about 2 months ago, we purchased Bright.com, and we purchased them for their matching algorithm. They spent almost 3 years perfecting this matching algorithm so that when a member comes onto LinkedIn now, we have more targeted, relevant positions being pushed towards them. And this algorithm consists of many factors, to tell you the truth, that are over my head, but the ones that I am familiar with that make the biggest difference are the 3 listed right here. So first of all, we have job titles. What we want to use over here is we want to use common job titles. We don't want to use the in-house language because it's going to result in mismatches. So I know I see lots of job titles out there for sales ninjas or something along those lines. Hey, that's intriguing to me. I think it's a cool job title, and I'll likely click on it. But the fact that it says sales ninja and I don't have ninja listed in my profile, I'm probably never going to have that position appear in front of me. So I'm completely going to miss that opportunity. The second aspect is optimizing keywords. So this goes into a little bit of a SEO, SEM kind of content, but what you want to take out of this is you want to make sure that you have your specific keywords and the variations of those keywords listed inside your job description. Now, it is weighted differently depending on how often a keyword is included. So for example, if we are looking for a database administrator, we want to use the variation that says data maintenance. And then we want to also go through and add it a few more times throughout the content so that when I being the database administrator, am on LinkedIn, our matching shows, hey, this is a targeted role for myself, and I'm going to have that position appear in front of me more often. The last portion is really where you can differentiate yourselves from a majority of other people that post their jobs right now. So the body of a job is meant to describe the role and the actual tasks it entails. Don't write a job description like the 95% of the other members out there. We're not looking for something in complete list form. We want something that's really going to give you insight into the firm, insight into the culture, and then really what they're getting themselves involved in. So you want to go ahead and sell that job. So here's an example. What I want you to do here is, it might sound a little silly, but if you don't mind doing this, close your eyes. I'm going to briefly read through this particular job description, and we're going to compare it to one that we think is a little bit more geared towards what we would like our members to be doing next. So here's a common job advertisement. The staff accountant will be responsible for processing and payment of all compensation. This includes working with department managers to obtain approvals and properly classify expenses, as well as other members of the accounting department during month-end close. In addition, the staff accountant will be expected to correspond with vendors to obtain additional documentation and resolve issues such as necessary. What you'll do, and now it's all in this form, properly code and enter invoices into the accounting system, coordinate compensation workflow to ensure timely review of compensation by department managers, work with various departments to determine needed accruals for month-end closing. So you can see, very basic list form, not very engaging, doesn't really differentiate yourselves. Now this next one is how we would suggest that you actually break down your job description. So again, close your eyes, I'm going to read through it real quickly again. You're a self-starter who can recognize where processes can be improved and who will take the initiative to improve them. Using your strong communication skills, you'll effectively collaborate with a variety of people and job functions, accomplishing tasks of moderate to high complexity and scope. When circumstances demand, you'll provide strategic support, such as evaluating data, resolving minor operational issues. You have the ability to perform flawlessly and professionally in a challenging and extremely fast-paced environment, along with the grace and willingness to change direction when circumstances demand. You support our global marketing solutions and sales department organization in any and all compensation-related matters, and you partner with other compensation team members and business partners to solve sales compensation-related business problems and provide sales compensation guidance. Now, if I read that, I could actually picture myself being in that role. I can see, yeah, you know, this is something that I could see myself working with for the next several years, and this is a conversation or a job that I'm going to explore in a little bit more detail. That's one way. The other way is, hey, you know what? Maybe I can't picture myself in this role, but the fact of the matter is the members actually spent time to go through and view and read through your listing so that they can either qualify or unqualify themselves for that particular role. The second aspect is going into, once you have the position out there, now we need to share it. We need to spread the word and create some buzz. So how do we spread the word? Well, the most common way, what we'd suggest is that you take the job and you post it as an update towards your company page. So now it's going to be pushed out directly towards all your followers. The next step is go ahead and take your colleagues and the friends that you have in the industry and have them like the particular listing or the particular status update. And when they do that, now it's going to be pushed out to their immediate network. So that first aspect or first portion is based off of your company page and having other members like your listing. The second aspect that we say is now let's go ahead and push it right to your personal profile. So those members that might not be following you, however, that are connected with you, now you're pushing that listing out towards them as well. And you get a lot more eyeballs on your page with a click of literally four total buttons. So this is really a recap of what you've heard in the past, how people are engaging with your company. And it's a matter of they're coming across your brand, whether it's an InMail, a telephone call, an email, a meeting, or a job posting that you have on LinkedIn. They're coming across your brand, and we consider that organic traffic. What they do next is they're going to go ahead and research your employees, which is going to, once they validate your employees or yourself as a recruiter, they're going to go ahead and research your brand. So it's going to go personal, it's going to go company, and now it's going to go towards following your brand or going into your job description. And this is really cyclical. This is a holistic approach. It's going to go, this is the process that most of our members will go through as their overall workflow. So again, personal branding, company branding, and call to action, whether it's to view your job or follow your particular brand. This next slide is going to show you the importance of really having these brand followers. When you have more followers, you can expect them to, 78% of them more likely to reply back to the email that you're sending out. 78%, so that means you could almost send out 2/3 of what you're sending out right now as far as emails go and have the same amount, if not higher response rate that's coming out of this. So it's very important to have that following built up throughout time. It's only going to benefit you now and help you stand out from the audience every day moving forward. And this is the last little slide we included, just so when you're leveraging the social networks, you know the best time to go ahead and post onto these networks so you get the most value out of the time you're investing. And we understand LinkedIn is not your only source. There is no silver bullet in recruiting again. So it's a matter of having a holistic approach on LinkedIn as well as overall social media strategy. So this is a little takeaway. Hey, when you're using Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Google+, these are the best practices as to when you want to reach out to them.
Awesome. Well, this does conclude the 4-part series. I'll be posting this recording as well as others, and then maybe some future step-by-step if people have discussion questions as far as how to do little small things right with company page updates and editing whatsoever. We'll be building some kind of step-by-step 2-minute tutorials for you guys to leverage in that group, recruiting in the digital age. But it was just really important, just overall recap. This is about, like we said, if you remember the slides from the past, what's your story? We want to make sure that, you're all on board, that we stop and we really rethink, what's the message we're trying to convey as a company? What's our unique value proposition? What value are we adding that's going to make us different than the other brands that are out there? It's really not that complicated to be different. I mean, like we're saying now, 95% of the recruiting companies out there, they either don't have a company page, they don't leverage it, which you get traffic to regardless, and it's having a negative impact on their environment. So we want to make sure that we're, again, rethinking what's our story and making sure that every profile of our employees, that the content that we're sharing, that the information on our company page, the mentoring we're supplying, the industry knowledge, all of this should be in unison. It should be clear and make sense, not just to ourselves, obviously, but it's got to be clear to our candidates. So it's great to just kind of get some feedback from friends or peers or anyone else that can just kind of give you I guess kind of a blind perspective on what they think the value is that you're adding or what you're proposing. So again, we're here for service, and we want to make sure that this stands clear and is consistent across the board, and especially in these InMail messages. We got a quick glance at an example one here, but really it's just, would you respond to this message yourself? Are you coming across as a transactional recruiter? Are we really starting off a relationship? And I totally understand, as we all do here, that speed is of the essence. We obviously are trying to make money, make placements as quick as possible. I know everyone requests and says, hey, I just want a phone number. I want to just call the person. And we know that's how business gets done. But like some of the pilots I'm running right now, single seat holders are absolutely crushing it because they're spending the time to do the outbound recruitment strategy like Parth was talking about with these InMails and doing this call outreach. But, while you're waiting for those InMails to recycle and for those responses to come through and managing the relationships you get out of those, you have a little bit of downtime here and there to where like we shared last time, you're reading an article, and all we need to do is just copy and repaste it to the company page and share it. So we're creating this, blog essentially of industry-leading knowledge that's validating our company and to ourselves, to the clients and candidates we're reaching out to, as well as when they get there, they're being educated. So they have more of a reason to engage with you other than just, hey, this is just about getting that job and then, our relationship's done. We want these people to be with us forever. We want these candidates and clients to share us. We want them to refer us business. And if you have this extra value add, we're definitely going to get, you're going to see a lot of growth and engagement with your company through LinkedIn. And this is literally just sharing what is working for our clients. So hope you've enjoyed these sessions. And again, we'll be reposting. Stay in touch with that group. We're going to be sharing best practices, updates as far as anything related just to recruiting. So, just a very strong filter on the data being put in there. But we'd be happy if you guys would start some discussions and some questions that we could answer through that group and continue to educate you through there. But on behalf of myself and the team here for Search and Staffing, we thank you for joining, and please feel free to share whenever you get the chance. We are open for questions, so if anybody has any ones to post, please go ahead and write in the chat window. We'll stay live here for just maybe 3 to 5 more minutes as questions come in. So there was a question I see here. I had repeated it earlier, but if you want to get copies of the prior presentations, they're all within the Recruiting in the Digital Age LinkedIn group. So it's free on there. If you connect with myself, Joe Gonzalez, or Parth, we're all joining that group. And they're basically just session 1 recording, session 2 recording. I will be going and converting them over to like a YouTube format and reposting them like in order, like all next to each other. But they are available there for you to watch and comment and share on at will. I don't seem to be getting any more questions as of right now. So again, I definitely would say start engaging with that group. I would love it if you guys could ask some more questions. They could start some great discussions, and I could provide some more data sheets and case studies and insights. So again, you're just really repurposing the data that we get here from our analytics team to help you guys be more effective and kind of just see live examples of companies that are doing it well. But if you do any questions, feel free to reach out through the group, and we'll be communicating through there. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.